land.
Right.
And the Atlanta is more properly named than Atlantis is. The people that they thawed out in Antarctica are ancient Atlanteans. They Lemurian Atlanteans. That was a flash froze civilization, and they thawed some of them people out. And then they told us this fabricated story that these people was part of an experiment of some people they brought from Africa. The same BS they told us about us over here. Them people that they was in Antarctica was already there. They already was there, frozen in the ice, and they used the cryostasis recovery method to thaw them people out. And that's when they found out that they didn't effed around, right? So when people start trying to designate Turtle Island as Egypt or ancient Egypt or North Africa, it's because they trying to disassociate us from this landmass as a people that was already here before any other settlers came. We were amalgamating and mixing with both Asians and Africans long before Columbus was even born.
Mm.
So stop listening to people tell y'all that y'all somewhere else. This Turtle Island, this is Atlantis. If they want to tell you this is some, don't let them tell you it's Egypt, because Egypt has only been named Egypt for probably about 800 years.
Mm-hmm.
In modern Egypt, with the current lines of demarcation, that came out in the 1800s as part of the scramble for Africa. So these people was being misleading, but some of them actually believe the bullshit they teaching.
Mm. Indeed. And on that note, any contact info for the people, Rod?
Y'all can catch me on Rod Hayes on Facebook, or the SikApe, almost the same as my um, Cash App, except it got the in front of it, on Instagram. Them the only two channels that I'm on. Otherwise, y'all catch me on Young Elder. Y'all can catch me right here on Brother Rich, or somebody else who might invite me to do a show. I'm thinking about opening up a TikTok for my live next.
Oh, that'll be powerful. Oh man, so many people on TikTok, Rod. Oh man, I gotta get on there more too. The youth is on there heavy, Rod. They're on
Mm-hmm.
heavy, man. So yeah. Hey Rod, thank you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow, by the way, AA Rashid will be on tomorrow night, family. So tune in 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'm gonna have the brother AA Rashid.
It started, but this episode of Chiefing with the Chiefing with Chief Pontiac, is called The U.S. versus Us, Cowboys, Indians, and Outlaws. Y'all might want to share this one. This one, I'm just getting a shout out to all of the brothers out there and the sisters that's doing the work to try to get this message to our people of what happened to us and how we end up where we don't got our birthright. So I'm gonna use this device to try to share some receipts with y'all um, when I start going in. So share, and then share. And then post it on your other social media. Let them know on Instagram, Rod Hayes Live on Facebook. This about to be one that's going to wake you fucking up. You finna wake the fuck up from this one. Because if you don't know we was at war, and you don't know that we was at war against the United States government, and you don't know that they the reason why we lost our identity from trying to hide from their assassins. But you don't even know who their assassins was. We about to get into it. The first thing that we need to understand is the United States is a federal corporation owned by the Crown of England and the Vatican. It's primarily a British holding. It used to be two corporations. It used to be the Virginia Trading Company and it used to be the Northwest Trading Company, as the overseers of what they called the 13 colonies. And in the course of this, these two corporations merged in what we know as the Revolutionary War. They told us, hold on, I'm looking up a receipt right quick. So what they told us that the Indians was scalping the paleface cowboys, and they told us that it was some people with they call Native Americans now. We call them $5 Indians because they was created by the Dawes Roll and the Dawes Act. For a fee of $5, they entered them on the roll. It was the Trail of Tears when they switched us out with the $5 Indians under Andrew Jackson. Right? Now, the receipt I was just looking up was Genghis Khan's descendants. Now, I told people on the Young Elder show, I said, look, the Moors was called Etruscans before they became Moors after King Maurice of the Ottomans. And these Moors was at war with several different subgroups of people. They was at war taking prisoners of war from the Huns, as in Attila the Hun. They were at war with the Khans, as in Genghis Khan. And they was at war with the people of India called the Vedics. And these are the people that made up the European slave class. And then they had the Indo-European, no, the Neo-European is the correct term. Neo means new. They had the Neo-European offspring that they had in the harems that they amalgamated with and created what we call today the Khazarians. The Khazarians is from a place in Europe called the Prussian Mountains. The Prussian Mountains was once called Khazaria. The Prussian Empire was a post Roman Empire that rose up prior to modern day Russia. We had strong support in our wars with the French, Portuguese, the Dutch, the Spanish, the Italians. We was fighting all of them niggas. They wasn't pale faces yet. Pale face don't start making it over here until like the 17 and 1800s. The first wave they brought over, when they tell you that they had slaves on the Mayflower, well, you got to know the people that was on the Mayflower, which was known as the good ship Plymouth. When Malcolm say we didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us. That's what he was talking about. So they had the 3 ships that came before them with Columbus, the Pinta, the Nina, and the Santa Maria. These 3 ships was led by niggas. But see, they wasn't called niggas. We gonna go into the history of how we got to be called niggas, because we wasn't called niggas, we was called nagas. And they know who we were, and they waged war against us because all of the high chiefs was in what was called the between life cycles. That means there was no high chiefs on the land and that they outranked them in the lodges by ranking system because there was no high chiefs. They didn't respect the chiefs that was in training, learning to rule as the chiefs. Now, the people they brought over here with them, we call them today Native Americans and $5 Indians. If you go to Google, and if you think I'm playing, you can do it, but I'm about to pull it up for y'all 1 second. And you say, how many people, men, are descendants of Genghis Khan? Now, the basic statistic is that it's 1 in 200 people that descend from men that descend from Genghis Khan following his Y chromosome, right? Now notice we over here, we have what was called the Amaru Khans in southwestern United States. It was an amalgamation of the Chinese royal families under Genghis Khan, under Kublai Khan, and the rest of the family that was marrying and intermarrying into the old Mississippians. And the old Mississippians is the Earth Root tribe. Now, Genghis Khan had a ridiculous amount of offspring. And his son, Kublai Khan, who was his successor, also had a ridiculous number of offspring spread in the Y chromosome of the Khans. But they was not the Li family. The Li family is an entirely different group of Asians that was chocolate color with straight hair. They married into the lines in the after Columbus's settlement when they came in to assist with the construction of the railroads, the iron workers of the railroads, and they made truces with the railroad Mississippians, them 7-foot tall, muscle-bound Crips, them 7'4" muscle-bound Bloods, but they wasn't called that at that time. They was just the old Mississippians. They was the Toltecs. They was the Maya. They was the Inca. They were the Aztecs. They was the how you say that word in the native tongue? Nah, which is the people. Just like when they came in with the Spanish language, they couldn't pronounce the way that we pronounce our words. And that's why in our Southern drawl, we have a whole different descriptive analysis of our communication with these people. So you see, me and Young Elder was doing the City Slicker Country Boy Code Flip Tribe Talk in the public, in everybody's face, so that y'all could see that just because he a little bit of country, and just because I'm a little bit of city, don't mean we don't know who he is and that we know the lingo of the tribes, even when we move into modern times using a foreign language, a foreign spiritual concept called religion that didn't exist over here prior to 1492. We was one with nature, one with the earth. Under Father Sky, we roamed across Mother Earth. And at any given time that we needed to call the ancestors, we looked to the sky and we spoke to the great father who walks with the black dog on his heels. For those who don't know what that is, that's the Osirian connection. In your biblical Greek, the word for heaven is Orionos. We talking about the great hunter Orion, which when he's in physical form on earth, he becomes the great father who walks with a black dog on his heels. And I keep a black dog, and don't make me flip my camera and show you he ain't sitting right here. Right? Now, when they came they brought Mongolians, Huns, and Vedics to do their heavy lifting for them. It was not for another 200 years when warfare and the ones escaping the plantation was them $5 Indians. They had 2 POW camps set up. One major camp in the north, one major camp in the south. Then the South diversified and opened up several different that became known as the Plantation South. The Plantation South, remember, the first part of the plantation is plan, and the second part is Asian, which comes from a nation. It's a national plan. It's a plan to take over your nation. The plantation became the modern day plant or workers' unions, was what we were guilds. When they got here, we had organized workforces. Our families was named after the stuff that they done. The Bridges family built bridges, right? The Banks family worked at Big Mama Banks, and we had Big Mama Banks all across the land. This is where your outlaws come in. But we're going to get back to the economic hitmen because they come up a little later in this story. So they plotting on how to get and conquer the ones of these nappy-head Negroes out west. We talking about your Pyrus. We talking about your rolling 60s, your rolling 20s, your OG blood sets, right? And your treetop Pyrus. All of them is ancient clans. The name reveals who they is when you know what side of the family lineage they coming in on, and the trick is to turn us against each other. So this is one of them ones where the OGs out west sit the YGs down and say, this how they did it. This the one right here. This how they did it. So they brought the Mongolians, they brought the Vedics, and they brought the Huns that was in captivity. This is your Mississippi Masala story. Shout out to Denzel, because King Kong ain't got shit on me. Because motherfucking Gorilla Grodd, GD Rod, is knocking on this bitch today. So when they get over here and they are switching us out, now remember, these 3 groups that they brought have similar spiritual practices and backgrounds. They've been misled by their captives that bringing them over here in a hostile manner. Remember, it takes 90 days to get from Africa to the nearest point in the Americas. It takes 2 weeks to get from Europe to America. What's more practical, to bring your slaves from Africa or to bring your slaves with you that you already have in captivity in slave villages called ghettos? Ghettos don't originate over here. Go back to Warsaw, World War II. Who lived in the ghettos? It was the so-called Jews. But them ain't the Jews. They moved up north into Switzerland. This is why when they had that last war in France with the Swiss, they all went into them underground tunnels over there. The whole country of Switzerland didn't even know that they had a whole bunch of darkies with kinky hair walking around in the tunnels under their feet while they was the neutral territory. The only reason they neutral because they was fending us off, putting us against each other on both sides, the east versus the west, the north versus the south. The south will rise again when it never failed. It was undermined. It was usurped on a sweetheart swindle. Big Mama got hooked up with a banker, and he was a Scottish Rite 32-degree Freemason. This is your George Washington cherry tree Masonic Moorish code. George Washington didn't chop down no cherry tree. He raped the heir, not the female heir. He raped the male heir because the only way he can stop him from ousting him from the land, because he was the only high chief at the time, is to rupture his root chakra, his cherry, bust his cherry, his dukshu. Babylonian sex magic. Go look it up. Babylonian blood magic. Go look it up. They using all of this against us. Babylonian money magic. They use it and they incorporated it all in the biblical text that they sent a pedophile priest cult over first to rock us to sleep. Because you notice, when Columbus came, he wasn't guns a-blazing. He had to go back and give a report to somebody. They say it was Isabella and Ferdinand, but they was beheaded. So we know they was in cahoots with the Dirty Moors, because that's why they got beheaded. But then you still got these uprisings all across France, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, trying to get rid of these motherfuckers that's coming over here. The first stop they was stopped at was northwestern Africa, aka Al-Maghrib. There was no Morocco, there was no Libya, there was no Tunis. None of them countries existed when Columbus came here. That was a broad territory of land called Al-Maghrib. And then the part that was Afrique was a little river valley stronghold of the traders who sold out Hannibal of Carthage, right? Up there, there's a little river run called Afrique. This is where they got the whole